Hey, top of the morning, everybody. It's a Thirsty Thursday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Latzia, wishing a happy Austin 316 to all those who celebrate. Hell yeah, brother, let's go. All right, what else is coming up in this show? How about a chunky betting preview ahead of today's NCAA tournament action? I'm told few folks out there like Princeton over Arizona. We're crowning the greatest fantasy athlete of all time, plus best bets around the NBA, NHL, and EPL. But first things first, let's get to my beautiful beefy friend, Ross Tucker, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, rocking his Princeton orange today. We feeling good? We ready to shock the world?
I am, yeah. You know what? I'm a little surprised we're a 15 seed, but that's fine. We've got an awesome team this year. I don't know many of the players, but they're good, and I'm going to watch them. And hopefully they can win. You know, Princeton, Ivy League teams usually can give these teams a run for their money. Tough draw, though. I mean, Arizona might be the best team in the whole country. So I don't know how they got Arizona in the first round, but that's okay. We were going to have to beat them on the way to the national championship anyway.
Why are you not at your mom's house right now getting ready for the first round of March Madness? Come on, I thought this was a tradition for you.
Because I now have my own home and children of my own, and my mom's like in the Bahamas or something somewhere. But yes, I did give my mom a social media shout out at Ross Tucker NFL for letting me stay home pretty much every year I can remember, Thursday and most Fridays for the NCAA tournament, as long as I got straight A's. Humble brag, Emerson, I got straight A's a lot.
Yeah. Your mom, she's not like a regular mom, Sandy. She's a cool mom, that's for sure. Okay, so March Madness, but there's another madness thing going on, and that's this Aaron Rodgers saga, dude. It appears to be nearing an end. Thank you, Jeebus. He says he intends to play for the Jets, which is not really a big shocker here. What was your one big takeaway, Ross, from his comments yesterday on the Pat McAfee show?
Well, just the fact that it's not him that's the holdup anymore.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I think that there was still some speculation as to why this hadn't happened yet. And we clearly now know that it's the Packers who have, in my opinion, irrational demands. Now, they look at it and say they've got the leverage. The Jets have no place else to go. Derek Carr's in New Orleans. Jimmy G is with the Raiders. So the Jets have to get Aaron Rodgers at this point. At least that's the thought process for the Packers. But I talked about this on today's Ross Tucker Football Podcast. That changes real quick, Emerson, if Aaron Rodgers shows up in Green Bay, right? When the offseason program starts, they don't want that. They want to move on from him. That would be awkward. They certainly don't want him to get injured doing anything there, because then they're on the hook for the $60 million. So I think this will probably get resolved sooner rather than later. But right now, Packers are kind of being a little bit greedy. It's kind of funny. I mean, I'm sure Packer Nation just said, oh, they got the leverage. They should do it. But, you know, they always say, well, we treat our players different. We treat our players better. Well, is this the right way to treat them then? I mean, you don't want them anymore. And you're the one that gave them a $60 million fully guaranteed contract for this year, which makes him harder to trade.
The minute I knew the Green Bay Packers did not care about winning was when they decided to release Blake Bortles a year or two ago. Only 5 teams here, Ross, are more likely to win the Super Bowl during the upcoming season than the New York Jets. That's in the eyes of the DraftKings Sportsbook. Where does New York rank on your list of Super Bowl contenders? With Aaron Rodgers under center.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like a stretch to me. I mean, I feel like I'm still taking, for sure, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati ahead of them without any hesitation. The Dolphins are still probably a better team. You know, Aaron didn't play great last year. I thought he played just okay. Now, we all think that he'd be motivated. Maybe it's like a Tom Brady first year in Tampa type of thing, and they go on a run. But this is still the Jets. And they still are a franchise that hasn't had any playoff success in a long time. So to think that they would go to the playoffs and run the table when he wasn't able to do that in Green Bay over the last 12 years doesn't seem real logical to me.
So plus 1,400 But then you have the Ravens down there at plus 2,500. That's where you're going to find the second biggest story of the offseason here with Lamar Jackson. We now have Lamar Jackson, the agent, tweeting about Lamar Jackson, the player. There are many different ways this situation could play out here, Ross. What's your outcome prediction?
Well, that he plays for the Ravens this year for sure. Now, there's a bunch of different ways that could happen. Number one is he could just play on the franchise tag, which is probably most likely. Number two is that they come to terms on a shorter, fully guaranteed deal, which seems to be very important to Lamar. He tweeted about a 3-year, $133 million fully guaranteed deal that he turned down. Again, I wouldn't have recommended that if I were his agent, but that's up to him. I would have told him to take the deal a year ago that was going to guarantee him $133 million and $175 million for injury. I don't think he's going about this the right way, but he's a man of principle, and he wants what Deshaun Watson got. The problem is nobody else was willing to do what the Browns did. Deshaun Watson said, Cleveland, you're out of it. I'm either going to Atlanta or New Orleans. Cleveland said, well, we'll give you a fully guaranteed deal. He goes, oh, Cleveland, you're back in it. He still, if Atlanta or New Orleans had given him the fully guaranteed contract, he would have gone there. So I don't think there's other teams that are willing to do that for a bunch of different reasons. So I guess the third option is that somebody gives him a contract offer that's good enough that he signs it. But whatever that is, the Ravens are just going to match it, right? So one way or the other, he's playing for the Ravens this year, unless he doesn't want to play for $32 million and he causes a big stink about it, in which case I think the Ravens and he would figure out a 1-year deal, maybe $40 million, maybe split the difference between the exclusive franchise tag and the non-exclusive franchise tag. Yada, yada, yada. He's playing for the Ravens.
Yeah, I've got my popcorn ready watching this situation play out for sure. I've had my popcorn ready this entire free agency period really since Monday, and no team's been more active than the Bears, and this comes after they traded the number 1 overall pick to the Panthers. They pulled in DJ Moore. How much better will Justin Fields be with this number 1 target now to find on the field, to throw to on the field?
Yeah, I think he'll be better for sure. I would like to see them do a little bit more along the offensive line, and that might be where they now head with the 9th overall pick in the draft, now that guys like Jawan Taylor and Mike McGlinchey and Orlando Brown have signed elsewhere. You know, the Bears might have to turn to the draft to try to upgrade the offensive line. They did get Nate Davis at right guard, but I would think that they would do more than that up front at this point to make sure Fields has a better offensive line. They got a haul, man. I mean, they got a haul.
They did.
You know, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and DJ Moore. DJ Moore is the best wide receiver available this offseason, draft or free agency. He was neither. He was a trade candidate, and they got him. Love what the Bears have done. Love how they are positioned with the cap space and the draft picks to really have a chance to be good the next few years now.
Yeah, much better than their 3-14 record from last season. Derek Carr is now a Saint. Jimmy G's now a Raider. Which quarterback is in the better spot to succeed, Ross?
Oh, Derek Carr. I'll tell you why. Because right now, Derek Carr is the best quarterback in his division on the best team in his division. Whereas Jimmy G is, at best, the 3rd best quarterback in the division on, at best, the 3rd best team. And by the way, Russell Wilson and Sean Payton in Denver might have something to say about that, and the Raiders might end up in the basement again. So I kind of like where Derek Carr's at. I don't really understand what the Raiders are doing. I mean, you signed Derek Carr to an extension, then you cut him after a year, after you gave him $5 million more than you had to. Then you signed Darren Waller to an extension in September and trade him in March. I mean, what's up with the long-term planning by the Raiders right now? Not real good.
No. I'm pulling in Jacoby Myers there as well, and then you're trading off your top tight end, Darren Waller, when he's great, when healthy. Biggest winner of free agency then? Who has it been so far?
You know, I mean, obviously Denver's added a bunch of pieces, which is good. Chicago's added a bunch of pieces, which is good. You're going to say I'm biased, I think I'd say so far the Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, for the Eagles to be able to keep Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, and then James Bradbury and Darius Slay, it looks like. And we'll see what happens with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Isaac Seumalo. It's pretty good. Now, look, they still lost 4 starters, 2 linebackers, a safety, and Javon Hargrave. But given all the guys they could have lost, I think the Eagles have actually managed it pretty darn well to the point where they're still probably the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, hoping to run it back in the conference for sure. What about biggest loser? Biggest loser in NFL free agency right now?
Ooh. Gosh, I guess I almost want to say the Eagles.
Okay.
Look, how many other teams? You know what? I'll say the Bengals losing both their starting safeties.
Okay.
But they did get Orlando Brown, which I thought was big.
That's
huge,
Eagles, dude.
I mean, I think the tough one for the Eagles isn't losing the 4 starters. It's losing Javon Hargrave to the Niners. It's like when a player goes to the other conference, fine. When the player goes to a bad team, fine. When the player who's one of your best players goes to the team you just played in the NFC Championship game, like Hargrave, that's the one where it hurts a little bit.
All right, my dude. It was great having you on here. Good luck to your Princeton Tigers today. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to need it. Arizona's loaded, but you never know. That's what makes March Madness so fun. I'll be watching the rest of the show to get your tips.
Okay, awesome. Yes, definitely don't listen to me because I'm like everybody else. I become a college basketball expert like this time of year after 5 minutes of research and filling out my bracket. All right, Ross, send our best to Sandy as well, okay?
I will do that. Yes, she will like that, Emerson. Thank you.
All right, everyone. We have the voting, I believe, complete. Yes, for our Sweat Bracket Madness bracket. We crowning the greatest of all-time fantasy athlete. We didn't vote for this. You did. So if you don't like the fact that Michael Jordan just knocked off Wayne Gretzky in the championship match, that's on you, not on us. Julian Edlow, RotoWire's Nick Whalen. Did the people make the right move? Did they make the right decision here, Jules?
Let's see. I wasn't prepared to talk about this. Yeah, the people always make the right decision. If it's a bracket that is voted on by the people, then I'm a man of the people. I'm going to roll with the people. So, yes, I'll go with the vote here.
You don't need to prep for this. It's just your opinion, and it's fun, and it's fake and not real.
I wasn't listening to you because I was doing NBA research again because Samir keeps making me talk about NBA during March Madness.
All right, whatever, dude. RotoWire's Nick Whalen. I like you a lot, so I'll start with you with NBA Fast Break here. We're dishing out.
You didn't even make Nick answer it.
No, because Samir in my ear, producer Samir said move on because you've already ruined the segment. Anywho, 5 games on the slate tonight. Whalen, Denver at Detroit. What's the play here on the DK Sportsbook?
So I'm looking at this Denver-Detroit game, and we have a giant number here. Denver is 14-point favorite, so we know why. I mean, Detroit is holding out basically everybody. I don't think we see Bojan Bogdanovic again this season. 14 is a lot of points. If I had to take a side here, it would be Denver minus 14. I'm more interested in the Nuggets first half line. That's at 8.5. I think that's a little friendlier. You're avoiding some of the shenanigans that can happen late in a game with blowout potential like this. So Nuggets minus 8.5 first half, and then James Wiseman over 8.5 rebounds as well. Detroit without Bagley, Stewart, and Isaiah Livers.
Jules, what's your play?
Yeah, Denver's been slipping a little bit of late, but the real storyline here is Joel Embiid has surpassed Nikola Jokic in terms of MVP odds. This is a perfect cupcake matchup for Jokic to put up one of his, patented stat lines and keep this race even. A win against Detroit isn't going to do much, but he can do something with the numbers. So it's a great matchup for him. Give me a Jokic triple-double at plus 105 or give me a Jokic over 44.5 points, rebounds, assists. Either one's fine.
All right, Jules, take us to Sacramento at Brooklyn. What are you looking at here?
The red-hot Sacramento Kings that were 400-1 to win this division that are now running away with it. Maybe a little bit of a letdown spot. They get a game winner last night on the road in Chicago, so potentially a flat spot here. I would love to back the Kings, but I can't. I think maybe we're looking at a game where you just play the over. Sacramento a little bit tired on the road trip. I think that maybe that shows in their defense a little bit. I hope they win this game, but I think the safer play, even with a big total, is to just bank on a lot of points in this one.
You agree with that, Waylon?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the line's a little suspicious, seeing the Kings here as underdogs on the road. But like Julian said, you got to take into account the kind of glaring letdown potential. Second night of a road back-to-back. You're traveling late last night after playing in Chicago. So I get that. I'm going to go with what I feel like is a slightly safer play and look to a player prop. McCall Bridges, 25.5 points, taking the over on that. He's been basically a 30-point per game guy since arriving in Brooklyn, so I think this is a pretty friendly number against the worst defense in the NBA over the last 10 games and the team that is number one in pace over the last 10 games. So this is a dream matchup fantasy-wise. I'd also look into the over on 2.5 made threes for McCall Bridges. He's gone over this number in 5 of his last 7, and this is at plus money tonight at plus 105.
Okay, let's go OKC and Toronto here, Jules. We're on the DK Sportsbook. Raptors 6-point home favorites. Total, they're sitting at 231. You want a game bet? You like a prop? Where are you going?
I'll just lay it with the Raptors here. They've been playing pretty well lately. And OKC, while they're in the playoff mix, I don't know how seriously they're necessarily taking things down the stretch this season. They obviously have more of a long-term view, whereas Toronto is in win-now mode. They're at home. They've been a good home team. I'll lay it with the Raptors.
All right, Mr. Whalen.
Going back to another player prop, Jalen Williams, over 24.5 points, rebounds, assists. We do expect SGA to play in this game, so that worries me a little bit. But nonetheless, even with SGA in the lineup, Williams has gone over in 7 of his last 9 games. I think he's become one of the most underrated players in the entire league. I think if you redrafted the 2022 draft right now, he would go as high as maybe 2 or 3 for some teams. He's been a top 40 guy in season-long fantasy over the last month and a half. Toronto, just an average opponent on defense, and OKC up to number 2 in pace over its last 10 games.
All right, Waylon, huge spread here between the Pacers and the Bucks. Bucks favored by 13.5 at home. They're meeting for the 3rd time this season. Milwaukee has won and covered the spread in each of the first 2 matchups, while the over was also hit in both those meetings.
Yeah, this is a confusing one. I think the line implies that we might see, at least like 2 of the 3 of Turner, Hield, and Halliburton sitting out. They're all questionable, although they did practice on Wednesday, so some mixed signals there for Indiana. We know that Ben Mathern's not going to play in this game. They're missing a couple depth pieces as well. So make sure you check the injury report before you lock anything in. I'm actually looking at the under on 238 here. And, betting the under in the NBA this season has been a dicey proposition. But if the Pacers hold out those guys, and especially if they hold out Tyrese Halliburton, I don't think they're going to be able to score. They've scored 100 points or fewer in 3 of the last 4 games that Tyrese Halliburton missed, including against Detroit earlier this week. That is a really bad Detroit defense. Milwaukee, a completely different animal. So I'm looking at that. And then much like that Nuggets game that we mentioned at the top against Detroit, Bucks minus 8.5 in the first half. I think you're kind of mitigating some of the risk for what can happen late in these lopsided matchups.
Jules, is this number a little confusing to you?
No, the Pacers look like they're packing it in. They're not playing guys. They have guys that are hurt. And the Bucks are starting to run away with that top seed in the Eastern Conference. That said, I'm not going to lay it for the full game. I think the Bucks get out to a fast start. They generally do so at home when playing some of these softer opponents. And the Pacers, to begin with, are the worst first half and first quarter team in the NBA. Early in the year, they were getting in holes and then grinding back with Buddy Hield and Halliburton and Turner, guys that aren't playing on a nightly basis anymore. So give me the Bucks first half here. I think they'll be up double digits at halftime.
All right, Jules, Magic getting 8 points on the road in Phoenix. Neither one of these teams playing very good basketball at the moment. So what do you want to do on the DK Sportsbook with it?
No, and that's why if I had to, I would take the points with the Magic here. It's a lot of points. They're a young team playing hard. Phoenix should ultimately win the game at home. They need to get some wins. Try and get out of that 4-5 first-round matchup with the Warriors. That would be something if we wind up getting it. But with Kevin Durant out again, they just haven't been able to get that momentum. The Magic have hung around when playing higher-level competition this season. I think they'll keep it within single digits and cover the 8.
Waylon, Suns have lost 3 straight. Magic just suffered their 4th loss in the past 5 games.
They did, and that was a blowout loss to the San Antonio Spurs when I made that best bet of the night on Tuesday over on RotoWire. So that kind of blew up in my face. This line was actually sitting at Suns -4 when I initially checked like an hour ago. It's now up to 8. I don't know if that was some sort of glitch or what. I mean, if you could get the Suns at -4, I love that. But I think Julian's right. I think this is a pretty decent spot for Orlando with this number sitting at 8. If you're a little iffy on the spread, there's some value in a Franz Wagner points prop tonight. He's been a little inconsistent of late. The number sitting at 16.5, but against the Suns team that just hasn't been all that great on defense. I would take Franz Wagner over 16.5 points. It's at plus money, plus 100 at the DK Sportsbook.
All right, Jules, we're about to run about 7 minutes from your recent Unreasonable Odds podcast there with Corby Craig. But before we do that, do you have any last-minute advice here for anyone filling out their bracket or placing futures bets for the NCAA men's tournament?
My last-minute advice is that we have just about an hour until the tournament tips off, and you should go listen to the 1 hour Unreasonable Odds podcast for every game on the board covered.
Cool.
I'll say some of my favorite bets are what we get on DK Sportsbook, being able to bet Sweet 16 and Elite 8 props. Those are not widely available, and I think there's a great edge to them. UConn to make the Sweet 16 at -115 is one of my favorite bets. Alabama to make the Elite 8 at -105. It got bet up to -130. Still one of my favorite bets. So go check out those Sweet 16 and Elite 8 markets. I think there's great value to that rather than betting Final Four and teams to win it all.
All right, good stuff. Yes, everyone, go listen to that while you're still watching this show. And if you just want to focus on, yeah, that's true. That's what I'm saying. Do both. And if you just want some information on today's games, again, here is part of Jules' conversation with Corby Craig, talking Thursday's NCAA March Madness contest.
Everyone's darling, Furman, down to 5.5 against Virginia. Virginia is one of those teams, like, I loved the team that won it all, but I can't get behind any of these teams since. They just can't score. They rely too much on defense. Furman could be a problem. This again, I'm gonna try not to give too many of these out because it does nobody any good. I got an early 6.5 on Furman. I might put it out at plus 5.5. I do think they're the side. Virginia is gritty though.
Yeah, I think one thing to note with Virginia, and we're not going to go too in depth in the ones that we have small opinions on, but Virginia just lost Vanderplas. I think that's interesting because it kind of changes their team's dynamic. So Vanderplas is pretty slow. This is a pretty athletic Virginia team, more athletic than we've seen in years past. The issue is Beekman also has been playing pretty hurt, like 80-85%. So I think injuries are a worry, but they do play to a faster pace without Vanderplas, which is good for this game because Furman is going to run up the tempo. So I think that might actually help Virginia in this case. I think it's going to be a really good game. Furman with a whole bunch of senior guards. That'll be interesting. If Furman's hitting their threes, the pack line's not going to do much. So Furman's a good spot as a live dog there for sure.
Utah State and Missouri. I lean Missouri in this one. SEC, I think Utah State might be a little overhyped. So I'm considering the plus 110 money line there. I did bet over 154.5 small, and I'll put that in my articles. This should have a rapid pace. So I think the over is the best play in Missouri, Utah State, and I would put Missouri through in my bracket.
Yeah, this one's interesting. A couple groups hit Missouri at 2.5 and money line. Didn't really move much. I actually lean towards Utah State. I think Utah State is one of those teams that if in the right spot, they can win a lot of games. They shoot the three ball at a tremendous clip. They have a whole bunch of senior-driven players, and this is team 18th in KenPom, so we're not talking about a bad team. They should give Arizona a headache if they can make it there. I think Arizona handles Missouri pretty easy, but Utah State sets plays to get open threes, and we'll see some good shots there. So if they're hitting them, they could beat probably anybody.
All right. Howard and Kansas. Let's take this spot more, unless you like something in this game, to talk more about Kansas's outlook in the tournament. They were a team maybe a few weeks ago that I was higher on. You got the Bill Self situation. They're a little dinged up. And then the bracket comes out, and they happen to be in the same region as UCLA, Gonzaga, UConn. Tough region. I don't know if I like Arkansas in the first round. We'll get to that game, but I think Arkansas is an athletic team with good coaching that could knock them off. It wouldn't shock me if they got knocked off by Arkansas in the second round. I have nothing to do with Kansas. I could see them doing anything from losing in the second round to making the Final Four. So I'll just have to leave them alone maybe until the second weekend of the tournament if they wind up in a game where I like the number.
Yeah, completely agree. Bill Self will be back, I think it was said.
Yep.
But still, this team is just too soft in the interior. We've seen Iowa State type teams push them around. We saw them get smacked by Texas. So an athletic team like in Arkansas is a draw that they did not want for sure.
Adams is a nice, like, athletic, bouncy big, but he's the only big. He's a little undersized height-wise. They could use a little more size like they had last year when they were champions. Here's a game I have nothing on yet, but I know that you have a play on. Charleston and San Diego State. Charleston got bet down a little bit as a dog. Maybe a tough draw for San Diego State. Charleston only lost 3 games this season. I would lean taking the points with them, but I do feel like it's kind of short. San Diego State could absolutely show up. I probably won't wind up on this game, but tell me where you're at on this one.
Yeah, so I hit San Diego State at 4 when it opened, 4.5 and 5. This is a San Diego State team that I probably am much too high on. I made this number closer to 9, which a lot of people got some laughs at whenever I said it on a live stream. But by all means, that's fine. I've been high on the San Diego State team. The issue here with me, Charleston lost 3 games. And that has pushed this number and this notion and this idea that, hey, Mountain West teams have sucked in the tournament. And I understand. But the issue, this is the exact matchup Charleston didn't want. What Charleston does is they run pace. They're 70th in the nation offensive efficiency, 70th defense. They're not that great by any means at anything. They just run pace and they make you uncomfortable. They are 24th in the nation in bench minutes played. The issue, San Diego State is 30th in the nation in bench minutes played. So who would you rather have, San Diego State's 8th man off the bench or Charleston's 8th man off the bench? Where they've been able to get teams is they have the fresh legs on the court, and they're able to acclimate. Their 8th man is pretty close to the 6th man of Towson, probably. But they're not close to San Diego State. This talent output is going to be so much different than what a Charleston team is used to seeing all year. They haven't had to play from behind. They haven't had to play with struggles all year. And I think San Diego State completely cakewalks this game.
All right, there you go. A breakdown on that one. Up next on Thursday afternoon, Princeton and Arizona. If you made me bet the game, I would take the points with Arizona. I like Kansas. I don't have much to do with Arizona here because you're laying too steep of a number if you want to bet them to beat the Missouri-Utah State winner and get to the Sweet 16. You're laying I think it was 225 or so. But if you want to go get a good number on the Elite Eight, they probably have a pretty tough game against the Baylor-Creighton winner that I'm not comfortable betting this far in advance. So I don't have much on this one. If you made me bet it again, I would lay 14.5 with Arizona, but they're coming off that tough, hard-fought Pac-12 win. I don't know here.
The only note I have is pretty short is Princeton plays a lot of freshmen. I think that it's worth noting how many freshmen Princeton plays. So maybe an Arizona first half, if you could get a good number, just due to lack of experience, nerves, Princeton's going to be playing for 3 or 4 freshmen. So that's interesting to know.
All right. I like that look. Arkansas, Illinois. We saw this one take some Arkansas money and move up to, I think, as high as 3. As we record on Tuesday afternoon, we're looking at 1.5 with minus 130 on the money line. This is a tough game, but I lean Arkansas. I haven't bet it. I have Arkansas in my bracket. I think they would definitely give Kansas the more exciting game in the next round. But Illinois is tough at times. Like they have an elite wing. They got a nice transfer in Mayer. They have size. I understand the appeal in both of these teams, and that's why it's kind of a coin flip game.
Yeah, it's a coin flip. I have not much on this one. I would say Arkansas just for that Kansas matchup, but gun to head, give me Arkansas, but I really don't like much either here.
I feel like generally when you take those matchups, like, I want Arkansas to advance to see what that Kansas game will be like. Yeah. Illinois winds up winning that game. So do what you please there.
We have a whopping 11 games going down around the NHL tonight, and 3 incredible NHL analysts here to share their best bets and help you navigate all of the best bets on the DraftKings Sportsbook. So we have RotoWire's AJ Schultz, DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich, and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Let's start with a puck line or money line bet you're feeling tonight on the slate, Jeff Ulrich.
Yeah, money line bet. I'm just going to go, I don't know, maybe this is too easy. Maybe it's just too simple. I'm going to Vegas tonight. For some reason, they're only minus 115 against the Calgary Flames. Not sure I understand this. Calgary is 0-8 their last 8 games played in Vegas. That's just one stat, though. I mean, we've got a Vegas team who's 7-2-1 over the last 10 games. We've got a Flames team who's 3-4-3. They've dropped games to Anaheim. They've dropped games to the Coyotes. Vegas is playing with a ton of confidence. Jonathan Quick is 4-0 in his first 4 starts with the Golden Knights. This is a bad rest spot for Calgary, too. It's their 3rd game in 4 nights. I have no idea why this line is only minus 115. I think it's giving far too much respect to the Calgary Flames right now. So I'm just going to take Vegas straight up. I think you should, too. They're at home. They're playing extremely well. And they're the better team, quite frankly. So give me the Golden Knights on the money line.
Yeah, Golden Knights getting hot at the right time here, AJ. Where are you going?
I love that call. I've been big on the move for them to bring in Jonathan Quick. I thought it was a great addition for them. But how about the Coyotes on the money line here? Plus 125. Honestly, similar to Jeff, I'm confused why they aren't the favorites in this one. They've got wins in 4 of their last 5 games. And that one loss was an overtime defeat to the Avalanche. Like a lot of teams could be forgiven a loss to the Avs this season. They're playing really well lately, led by Clayton Keller, who's got 11 points in those 5 games, including 6 goals. I think the Coyotes should be the favorites in this one, not the Dogs. So definitely going to get some value out of them at plus 125.
Paul Bruno, puck line or money line bet you like on the slate tonight? You're muted, homie. There
we go.
Let's go.
Look, Colorado showed me something last night. I got a close look at them playing the Leafs. They're playing lockdown hockey. I can't understand why they're only plus 165 on the puck line against Ottawa, a team that is nowhere near as stout defensively as Toronto is. And Colorado didn't give an inch last night. And I think they're ready to defend the cup, and they showed it to me, and I'm thinking that's a good play. I'm all over Jeff's call on Vegas versus Calgary. I'm taking the puck line here for a better payoff, plus 215. I think this is going to be an easy win for a team that's dominating the Western Conference of late. Calgary's trying to stay afloat, but they throw up a stinker for every good game they've been playing the last month.
AJ, which game total stands out to you tonight?
For me, it was the Winnipeg-Boston game being set at 6. I like the under in this one. Both teams do have plenty of scoring options here, but we're talking about Linus Ullmark going up against Connor Hellebuyck. Ullmark, for his part, pretty much could give him the Vezina Trophy now. Hellebuyck has won it in the past, and he could put up 35 wins this year. So it's a fantastic goalie matchup. I think it's a good spot to target the under.
All right, Paul, which total you like and what are you targeting?
I think Florida heads to Montreal, thinking it's points night here. I look at the line over 7 for a 105 payoff. I say go up another half a puck for a better payout on the plus side. Florida's going to roll the Habs tonight. And then back to Colorado at Ottawa, I take the under 6.5 total. I think there's no way Ottawa's going to get their offense in gear off what I saw last night. Colorado, too good a team right now, and they'll cover that and get the 110 payout.
Yeah, the Panthers and Canadiens with a meaty 7-goal total right now, Jeff Ulrich. Which one are you targeting?
I don't mind that call at all. I mean, I would certainly go over in that game, but I'm going to go with AJ. This is probably my favorite pick on the board, the under 6 goals for Winnipeg and Boston. These are 2 of the heaviest under teams in the league. The Jets have the best percentage. They've hit the under in Jets games at about 67%. The percent goes up when the Jets are at home as well. So, again, both of these teams coming off bad losses. They both allowed a few goals in their last couple games, but they're good defensive teams. And what are they going to do? They're going to try and tighten things up tonight. So the trends here say the under in the Jets-Bruins game is an extremely good play, and I agree with it. If I was looking to take another under 2, I would go to that late game in San Jose, Sharks have allowed 21 goals over their last 4 games. They're 9th in high danger scoring chances allowed. The Kraken still have a very solid offense. I think the over 6.5 goals there, but it's still at minus 120. It's still bettable. The over in the Kraken Sharks game is very appealing too.
Boston's dominated that matchup with the Jets in recent years too. Bruins have won the last 5 between those 2 clubs. Paul, Who's putting the biscuit in the basket tonight? Hook me up with a goal scorer prop.
You know what? There's some really good players who have really good payouts tonight. Barkov against Montreal plus 130, easy. He might get more than 2 points in that game. And Brady Tkachuk against Colorado. Look, he's been scoring against everybody. They're going to score 1 or 2, and I think he's going to be in on that. That's a plus 150 payout. How about Cale Makar from the blue line? He was flying last night, and he drives a lot of that offense, as everybody knows. Plus 265 if he scores 1. And then finally, a little dig at AJ. How about Artemi Panarin for plus 215 against Pittsburgh? The Pens are almost on life support in terms of the playoff hunt right now, and the Rangers could put a real dagger into them this
All
evening.
right, Jeff, who are you targeting here?
I'm going to go to that Seattle game. Like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity down the lineup. Oliver Bjorkström at plus 225, top 6 forward. He's still shooting like 2 to 3% under his career average for this year. This is a player who should be looking at the San Jose defense and just, ready to break out. He's averaging 3.6 shots on net over his last 5 games. Bjorkström's at 225, like I said, really solid odds. And staying with that game, Martin Kaut is starting to get some opportunity here for the Sharks now. He's at plus 400 for an anytime goal. Don't forget, this is a first-round pick. He was with Colorado, but now he's getting ice time. He's playing like over 14 minutes a night for the Sharks. The Kraken have not been good defensively lately either. So if you want a really big line here, Martin Kaut, anytime goal, plus 400.
AJ, talk to me.
I'm going to circle back to Clayton Keller here. You're getting really good value on him at plus 145 to score. The Canucks are not a defensively solid team here. I would even consider doubling down on Keller and taking him to get over 1.5 points. Comes in at plus 160. I think it'll be a big night for Clayton Keller and the Coyotes.
All right, gentlemen, next here on the list, underdog. An underdog who you would back to pull off the upset tonight, Jeff Ulrich.
I'm gonna ride with this Chicago. I'm gonna call it Chicago weirdness because I don't really understand where this is coming from, how they beat the Bruins, but plus 215 is just a little bit too big for me not to take a shot here. The Predators are solid. They've got a solid netminder, but they're not what you'd call an overly talented team either. I'm surprised that this line is kind of this big. The Blackhawks have shown a little bit of spunk over their last few games, and again, this really comes all down to valuation. I just don't think that the Predators necessarily deserve to be minus 255 home favorites tonight. So I'm going to take a shot with the Blackhawks. I think that line's just a little bit too big.
Paul, who are you taking a shot with?
I like Arizona versus Vancouver at home. The Coyotes, they play in that small rink, but they've upset some big heavyweight teams at home in the last month, and I think they're going to add Vancouver to the list. Vancouver doesn't qualify as a league heavyweight, certainly, and I like the plus 125 for the home side there. And the guys have mentioned Winnipeg and Boston a little bit in this broadcast, so I'm going to look at that game saying, why not take the Jets and say Hellebuck stands on his head, plus 135 the payout again for another team that's playing on home ice. So I like those two situations.
I will say the Bruins haven't looked as crisp as they did when they were on that run, becoming the first team in NHL history, the quickest to hit 50 wins. AJ, an underdog in a good position tonight to pull off an upset.
Well, yeah, I already mentioned Arizona, so I'll flip over to my Penguins. I like them against the Rangers tonight, plus 125 value there. Yes, they had an absolute stinker of a performance against Montreal, but I think it's because that was a trap game. They were looking ahead to this Rangers matchup. They just beat the Rangers last time out. As Paul mentioned, this is a crucial battle in the playoff hunt in the Metropolitan Division, and the fact you can get the Penguins plus 125, decent value, having them just beat the Rangers, I think they can do it again.
Interesting, AJ. Any other player props you like on tonight's slate? Any of them stand out to you, AJ?
Yeah, in the month of March, you're talking about a Habs team that is the league's worst penalty kill at just 57%, while the Panthers are a top 5 power play over that same stretch. I would literally consider taking every member of that number 1 power play to get a power play point on this one. Paul mentioned it should be high scoring. It's going to come, I think, with the man advantage here. You can get, for a power play point, you can get Montour plus 200, Barkov 105, Reinhart 150, Verhaeghe at plus 450. He got moved to the number 1 unit yesterday. And then Tkachuk at minus 120. Take all 5 of these guys to get a power play point. You'll definitely come out ahead.
All right, Paul, hook us up.
Well, I'm going to take Barkov to get over 1.5 plus 120 there. Nate McKinnon, I said he looked great last night. He's been playing wonderfully for most of the season, but really heating up on the past 3 weeks. Plus 1.5 points, 120 payout there. And Victor Hedman has been a stalwart for Tampa for forever. And the fact that you can get a plus money on him if he gets a point tonight in another game that they want to get against New Jersey, that makes sense to me from the blue line.
Jeff Ulrich.
All right, I'm gonna give you a little shot on goal parlay here. Why not? Let's go over 3.5 shots for Elias Peterson against Arizona. Yes, I like Arizona too. But they allow a lot of shots on goal. Over 2.5 shots for Oliver Bjorkstrand. I already mentioned he's averaged 3.6 shots on net over his last 5 games. And then Rupa Hintz over 2.5 shots on net as well. The Oilers allow a ton of shots. You pair those 3 overs together, you get plus 638 as a little parlay tonight.
All right, gentlemen, best bet on tonight's 11-game NHL slate. Jeff Ulrich, lead us off.
I'll just go simple. Over the team total, 3.5 goals for the Seattle Kraken. Playing the Sharks. The Sharks are just terrible defensively. They're just terrible in general right now. They've allowed over 4 goals in 6 of their last 7 games. Kraken have a very good offense. Over 3.5 goals for the Kraken tonight.
AJ, hook me up with your best bet.
Yeah, I'm actually on the same matchup here with Jeff. As he mentioned, Sharks have allowed over 5 goals per game in the month of March. And so I'll take a goal scorer prop from the Kraken here. You can get Jared McCann at plus 110 to find the back of the net tonight. 6 goals in his last 7 games. I think he should put another one in here. This is a high-scoring game, as Jeff has highlighted, and I think it's worth targeting in as many ways as you can.
Okay, Paul, clean sweep on that game? You going in a different direction?
I'm going in a different direction. When you say best bet, I'm looking for parlay situations to get the most money for my investment. So Colorado to win at Ottawa under 6.5, that's a plus 250 payout. And how about New Jersey? They're not going to drop 2 straight at home, are they? Even though it's Tampa coming in again for an unusual back-to-back on the road. Under 6.5, a New Jersey win, that pays plus 240.
Gentlemen, we've got some bonus time. Bonus question. Favorite DFS play? Let's go over to DraftKings and exit the DraftKings Sportsbook. Jeff Ulrich.
I mean, look, we've got a ton of people to play tonight. It's an 11-game slate, obviously, but I mean, I would really target the Florida Panthers here. I mean, like, there's a chance that this team scores like 6 or 7 goals. So when you're looking there, I mean, I think Sam Reinhart still remains like a really, really solid value play. Reinhart just is easy to fit in. He's playing in the top 6. He's still only 6,100. Yeah, I mean, let's go. I mean, a nice little kind of upper tier value to build around.
AJ.
Well, I'm going to stick with who I just talked about in Jared McCann here, because he comes in at under 6,000, just 5,800 for him. Like I said, he's been red hot of late. It's a really good matchup. I think you could stack a couple of Seattle Kraken players tonight. Maybe Matty Beniers in there as well. But the fact that you don't have to break the bank to get McCann makes him my top DFS play tonight.
Paul, do you got to break the bank tonight?
Not really. I could take the entire Florida first line. You got Barkov, Westerainen, and Duclair there. And then in the nets, I want a cheap goalie win. So I'm looking at Shesterkin plus $7,800 at home versus Pitt, and Hellebuck $7,100 at home against the Bruins.
Well, I guess it makes sense why that Florida game has the highest total in the DK Sportsbook tonight after listening to you three. Appreciate it. AJ, stick around because we'll need you for some EPL picks coming up. I believe you're also trailing in the race for the sweaty boot now, bud. But the NBA culture, everybody, it is changing, and Damian Lillard talked about it recently on the Old Man and 3 podcast.
What else has changed for you? What is sort of your perspective on where we're at right now and sort of what the differences are from when you first came in?
I mean, I would say the biggest difference is, how do I put it?
Say it.
I'm going to say it. No, that ain't the problem. I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? When I came in the league, I put it like this. When I came in the league, like Jason Kidd was starting for the Knicks. And Grant Hill and Kurt Thomas and Kenyon Martin, you know, it was like real older dudes in the league. I played with Jared Jeffries. He was 40 or 41 or something. Earl Watson was 40 when I played with him. I played with like real vets. And it was a lot of stuff that I learned like about being a point guard or, you know, how to lead from Mo Williams and Earl Watson and Jared Jeffries. And they didn't even play, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just the way that they showed me how stuff had to be done. I had no choice but to respect the game. You know, I didn't have, the word I was looking for is entitlement. Like when I came in the league, you had to earn not just what you get from the team or like the respect. You had to earn your space on the team. You know, it was no, oh, you the 6th pick of the draft. It's your team. Like, what is this your team stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think now the biggest difference is you don't have that veteran presence. So you got players who are more talented than ever coming into the league. They're getting picked, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're making more money than those picks ever made. So not only that, now you're giving them the keys to the franchise. There's nobody there to really let them know, like, you super talented, but like you got to earn stuff around here. You know what I mean? You got to earn your way. So they come in and everything is just given to them from the beginning. So that affects how they are, the way they play. Like, they play for themselves. They play for stats. They, you know, think that they're LeBron James when they make an all-star game, or, you know what I'm saying? They get a max contract. It's just different. I don't know how to completely put it together, but the NBA I play in now is not the NBA that I came into. And I expect it to evolve. Everything is constantly changing.
We got some EPL action to dive into, and two of my absolute favorites are here to dive into said EPL action. AJ, damn good to have you back. Chinmay Vaidya, welcome to the program today. So, Friday, one game slated, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle. What's the play in this one here, Chinmay? Forest being dragged back into the relegation conversation.
It's interesting that all these teams, as they're approaching relegation, find a way to get wins somehow. And Newcastle simply haven't been scoring enough for me to feel confident in taking them on the money line, even at minus 150. They haven't scored 2 goals in the last 8 EPL games prior to Sunday's match, where they scored 2 against Wolves. So I actually don't hate the idea of taking Nottingham Forest double chance, which comes in at plus 120. I think Forest shows something here. Fighting relegation, and Newcastle, I'm just not confident in them scoring enough goals to really pull away in this game. I also like taking the under on 2.5 goals for the total, which comes in at minus 135. I just don't see too many goals here, and I think Forest put up a decent fight as they're backing up against this relegation zone.
It's a tough one to pick for you, AJ, because we have Chinmay here saying Newcastle may not be scoring a lot, but Nottingham has gone, 5 games without a win here, 2 points outside the bottom 3?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Chinmay's selling here. You know, you look, Newcastle winless in 4 straight, just 1 draw. Forest, as you mentioned, haven't won in 5 consecutive with 2 draws there. I think because of that, I like draw on the money line here at plus 285. But I totally agree with Chinmay. I would definitely target under 2.5 goals at minus 135. Not a lot of offense coming in this one, but overall, Chinmay's double chance is a great play. But I would just simply go draw plus 285.
Chelsea and Everton's going to be the nightcap here on Saturday. A Saturday that features 5 games, AJ. What's your lean in this one?
Everton, of course.
Yeah.
Next question. No, look, in all seriousness, the value on Everton here is really, really high. But they've been terrible away from Goodison, even under new manager Sean Dyche. It's probably Chelsea minus a goal and a half at plus 135 if you aren't an Everton fan. But for me, look, personally, I can't pass up plus 650. That's too good to hope on the chance that Dyche pulls off another 1-0 win here. If you don't want that much win and you want to do Everton, you could go Everton double chance plus 175. So really, the smart money, Chelsea minus 1.5 at plus 135. But if you're like me and you see that big value on your team, you can't pass it up. Plus 650 is where I'm personally going.
Chinmay, Chelsea's got this mini revival going on. 3 wins in a row here? I know that's probably taking some pressure off its manager.
Chelsea and Everton have made me look quite stupid in the past few weeks. And so I don't really like this matchup for these two teams. I'm going to continue to fade Chelsea scoring, though. I'm going to go Chelsea under 1.5 goals, which comes in at plus 110 on the DK Sportsbook. I just don't think that Chelsea are going to continue scoring the way they have. And I also do think Everton continue to put up a fight as they battle against this relegation zone. All these relegation teams are going to go hard at the end of the season. You know, this is basically their revenue stream for the next year. So I do think that Chelsea slowed down a little bit after this mini revival, as you mentioned. And I like under 1.5 goals for Chelsea. They still might get the W here because Everton have struggled to score, but I don't think that they really pull away here. So I'm staying away from the spread picks for this one.
All right, AJ, one featured match on Sunday, Arsenal and Crystal Palace here. How are you betting this game? Arsenal, clear at the top of the table, 5 points?
I mean, Crystal Palace haven't won a match in 2023, including the FA Cup. And suddenly they're being discussed as a possible, relegation battle team, despite sitting 12th in the table, manager on the hot seat with this slump here. As such, I'm not touching them with a 10-foot pole. At the risk of Chinmay's Gunners ruining me again, I'm going to go with the game parlays option here and take Arsenal win and over 2.5 total goals at minus 110. I think it should be a pretty one-sided affair, and that's a good way to get some value out of Arsenal.
All right, have at it, Chinmay.
I like where AJ's headed in terms of a high-scoring game and Arsenal getting the W. One thing that I would keep in mind is Arsenal have a Europa League game today, and we'll see exactly what they throw out there in terms of talent, because they're tied with Sporting on aggregate heading into this matchup. So that they really want to get this W here. So we'll see exactly what Mikel Arteta does in terms of his players. I would expect, though, that Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, and Gabriel Martinelli all play sparingly, if at all, in this matchup. I don't think that Arteta is going to sacrifice the league standings just for a Europa game. So I would actually take any of those guys as an anytime goal scorer in this matchup. I don't think there's a ton of value for picking Arsenal on the spread or even straight up on the money line, but I think you can get some value with the anytime scorers. I do think all three guys will have plenty of chances in this one to find the back of the net.
Everybody's favorite time now, favorite part of this weekly EPL segment. Das Sweaty Boot. Chinmay, like the phoenix, rising from the ashes, gripping and ripping that sweaty boot lead from the sweaty palms of AJ's meaty hands and fingers. So, congrats on taking the lead here, Chinmay. What's your sweaty boot bet this week?
As tempting as it is for me to once again go with a North London moneyline parlay, I'm gonna shy away from that here. I'm gonna go with something different. I'm gonna show that I can be versatile here with the sweaty boot picks. I'm gonna go Brentford on the money line against Leicester. Comes in at plus 100. I think Leicester are really struggling right now, and Brentford need a W after that performance against Everton last time out. Give me the Bees on the money line at plus 100.
Speaking of needing a W, you need one of those. AJ, you loser.
Absolutely here. I'm going to turn to the Spurs, who are going up against bottom of the table Southampton. And I'm going to back Harry Kane to score here, minus 105. Southampton allowing right about 1.6 goals per game. So Tottenham should at least get one, if not more. And Kane would be leading the league in goals if Erling Haaland had just stayed in Germany. So he's still a top goal scorer, even though he's not getting the attention that he normally would. I think Kane to score is a good spot. It's still decent value at minus 105.
You two bring me mucho, mucho joy. Thank you so much for your help. Have a great rest of your Thirsty Thursday. Everyone, we're back here in studio, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Jessie Cofield should be back as long as her nanny no longer has raging diarrhea.